pretty much every single one of Caitlin's games early on because I am a fan. I do like good basketball, and of course, I want to see.
Since I'm a fan and enjoy terrific basketball, I watched pretty much every one of Caitlin's games early on. Naturally, I wanted to see how she would do because we're heading straight into a WNBA storm that has generated reactions from both fans and players. The WNBA's credibility and leadership under Commissioner Kathy Engelberg have been severely damaged by Sue Bird, one of the league's most respected voices. However, what led to this surge of disagreement at the center stands? Caitlin Clark, the rising superstar whose record-breaking season was met with controversy because of how the league has treated her, and it seems it comes all the way from the top. I just don't. And it actually, we talked about this before, like the fan that went hearted, Caitlin, at the Connecticut Sun game in game 1 or 2. I can't remember where there was an interaction where the fan almost got ejected. It's like none of this is okay, and we never accept it. We never accept this on the men's side. Why is it okay in our league, is it? Oh, welcome to mainstream sports. We'll explore how Bird's revelations and the WA's leadership decisions have exposed the cracks in its foundation. Why was Clark, who boosted viewership and attendance, treated in a way that left fans fuming? And how does Commissioner Engelbert play into this? Get ready, because we're about to break down what this means for the future of the league before we break it down. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Are you ready? Let's go. We do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music, like the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons. True, and when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's recent public statements have turned heads and sparked fierce debates among WNBA fans and analysts. Her appearance on CNBC's Power Lunch ignited backlash when she emphasized you need rivalry as a key to boosting the sport's visibility. This statement, intended to underline the importance of competition in sports, seemed tone deaf against the backdrop of the vitriol players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Rhea faced. It becomes even more striking when Kathy Engelbert mentioned this specifically, one white, one black. So we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. It's balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars. But corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players, much more so than they were 5 years ago. The issue wasn't just the statement itself, but the deeper implications. Soccer legend is among the critics. Engelbert made a clear mistake by prioritizing rivalries over the security and welfare of the players, as Megan Rapinoe noted. Rappo criticized the commissioner on her show with Subir, claiming that Albert did not shield players from the hateful and discriminatory discourse that permeated stadiums and online. This criticism struck a chord with many who believed that the leadership was more interested in marketing narratives than protecting its athletes. It wasn't surprising, and it wasn't limited to the commissioner's remarks a few weeks ago, in which she essentially suggested that racial tension is beneficial for business and that using magic and birds is never good for business. She also sort of sidestepped the issue of racism, misogyny, and hate that the players are receiving online by saying things like, "Don't go on social media," or "It's not real." I should have stated directly and unequivocally that hate speech is harmful, said Albert later in an apology, adding that although it was an attempt to right the incorrect thing, many players and fans expected more decisive action. The apology brought to light the growing disconnect between the league's primary duties of player protection and integrity and its leadership. This backlash was not unexpected. Analysts pointed out that Engelbert's leadership style frequently put marketable stories ahead of important policies, a practice that has started to undermine trust by openly highlighting disputes. In fact, this is what she recently said when asked about the referee problem. Obviously, not every referee is human, and they're looking at technology. But basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating, so we're looking at a variety of different dimensions. She brought attention to the lack of concrete measures addressing important issues like player safety and respect, giving the impression that profits mattered more than principles. With a player like Caitlin Clark, the WNBA stakes are higher than ever. Increasing the number of viewers and motivating the fan base, Engelbert's strategy could jeopardize these advantages. If you've read this far and are enjoying the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Both players and fans question whether this leadership style is sustainable because it diverts attention from what really matters by focusing on rivalries. We understand that watching this video takes up some of your time, and we appreciate that. Now let's get back to the action. As WNBA players were leaving college and entering the league, we were having basketball conversations, and everyone took it a step further and attacked them personally. That's where petty jealousy and hatred come from. The WNBA's leadership was discussed in detail in Sue Bird and Megan Reno's podcast episode. Bird, who is regarded as one of the best players of all time, and Rapinoe, who is a strong supporter of social justice and equality, both address the concerning gap between league officials and players' realities. Bird pointed out that Engelbert's remarks on CNBC regarding the advantages of rivalries completely missed the mark. The main point of contention ought to have been to defend the athletes and supporters from hateful, racially motivated assaults. She said that the atmosphere had gotten so nasty that players were starting to feel insecure at games and online, and that supporters were starting to be generalized for things they weren't. The language used around fans is one thing we want to change, she said. Fans of Fever, I understand why it's sometimes used, but it's kind of like when you're in an interview and someone asks you a question, it's easy to say, oh, the FIFA fan base, these mean, oh, these new fans, it has to go because it's not the Fever fans, it's not Caitlin fans. Rappo backed this up by claiming that the WNBA and league office did not protect players from the bad aspects of the sport's abrupt surge in popularity. This criticism revealed a more serious problem. The leadership's goals may not be aligned, with a greater emphasis on public relations than on taking substantive action. Additionally, the podcast disclosed that certain leadership choices, Bird was especially worried about how these rivalries and unrestrained talk drove fan divisions and permeated real-world behavior. The podcast commentary went beyond simply pointing out issues. Bird and Rappo asked the organization to reevaluate its goals and called for proactive measures to address them, claiming that, from the WBA's point of view, marketing alone wasn't sufficient in both the league headquarters and CAS. In particular, Kathy's job is to safeguard and guide the league from a business standpoint, a player welfare perspective, a health and safety perspective, and a growth and investment perspective. This is where I believe she has fallen short, as Bird and Rappo have analyzed these leadership shortcomings. One thing became evident. In addition to being expected to perform at elite levels, the players were also left to defend themselves both in person and online while attempting to advance the game. This reality, Bird suggested that the WNBA community's trust was being undermined, and it is now unclear if the league will heed this advice. These demands for modification or continuation of a course that might endanger its legitimacy and expansion. Nobody had the same kind of prominence and scrutiny when I graduated from college. There is no denying that Caitlin Clark is one of the best. Her first season was not only outstanding, but also historic, featuring game-winning shots and performances that broke records. Her captivating appearance captivated new audiences and rekindled ardent admirers. Her influence was so great that analysts named it the Caitlin Clark effect, affecting ticket sales, TV ratings, and retail sales. Revenue increased, but the league's reaction was surprisingly muted. Caitlin's outstanding performance is just going to continue, and over the next few years, she will smash records nonstop. The inability of the WNBA's leadership to completely, you can't make this up, Embrace Clark's success highlighted deeper problems in the league, and instead of using her season as a springboard to engage new fans and solidify its core base, leadership remained hesitant. For instance, the Rookie of the Year award, which should have been a major event for the league, was handled with a level of restraint that confused both supporters and analysts. Instead, they decided to call Clark in Connecticut during a practice before a playoff game to inform her that she was the winner.